Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to initiate a short duration discussion on the Rule 50 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business relating to a matter of urgent public importance on the news item that appeared in the local daily Maupor dated 27th February 2022 under the caption Kerpat Kinongrep Yau MLA Kamosunram Ban Yakren Haying Dorbar. So the topic that I am going to raise, which is of grave importance, is related to the plantation of Areca nut in Mawsynram constituency and in other parts of the state as well, sir. So Areca nut, popularly known as betel nut, is widely cultivated in Meghalaya, sir. The Kahi Kuchi brand or the quality is the most important variety of Areca nut that is grown in Meghalaya and around Dauki. And the Dauki Kwai is extensively grown in East Khasi Hills and Gente Hills as well, sir. So the farmers in Mawsynram block or under the Mawsynram constituency do not have access to any machinery for taking up any pre-cultivation or inter-cultivation activities. Also, farmers in this area do not use any pesticides or insecticides at any stage of the crop and hence are not dependent on any agricultural input providers. The major problem faced by the farmers in cultivation of Areca nut is the high incidence of insect pests and diseases, due to which the yield of Areca nut has declined drastically, sir. Areca nut plants are affected with yellow leaf diseases, bud rot diseases, and Ganoderma wilt diseases. These are the three types of diseases that is commonly affecting the Areca nut trees and the plantation, sir, thereby causing great damage to the crops, sir. So the farmers in the state of Meghalaya are losing 20% of their plants every year owing to senility, wind and diseases. Areca nuts are completely rain-fed and no protective irrigation is provided in summer months. Even harvesting is taken up manually and hence, except for sickles and crowbars, no other instruments or machineries is used by these farmers. So the Areca nut farmers do not take any crop loans from banks. It is recommended to invest in training and infrastructure for making Areca leaf to encash the economic value of the sheet attached to the Areca nut leaves. So the approximate area of cultivation of Areca nut in Mawsynram block is about 1,023 hectares, with an approximate production of 926 tons and a productivity of 905 kg per hectare, which is quite substantial and quite large, I must say, for small farmers in our area, sir. Getting 905 kg per hectare is quite huge, sir. So the farmers of Mawsynram sell their products in the local market, in Mawsynram, in Balat, and in other adjoining villages, sir. They also export the areca nut to other nearby states like Assam, and it even goes to Bangladesh through the border huts located in Lalpani. The rate varies from rupees 800 up to 1,200 per kani. They say kani, sir, in the local language. Kani is basically a unit of local measurement for areca nut equivalent to 400 numbers of areca nut. 400 areca nuts is equivalent to 1 kani. Kani is a Khasi word, sir. So farmers can sell up to 1,000 sacks of areca nut in the border huts per day at the rate of rupees 4,000 to 5,000 per sack, sir. So this is the economics I'm trying to project to this august house, that how much a farmer earns out of 1 sack of areca nuts, sir. They sell about 4,000 to 5,000 per sack, sir. So in a year, the farmer can sell a minimum of about 48,000 sacks. 48,000 sacks in a year, a farmer can sell his areca nuts in my area, sir. So even unripe nuts can also be sold for 3,000 rupees per sack. And the demand is very high for these unripe nuts, sir, which are used for industrial purposes. Some of the farmers also lease. They give on lease their plantation for an average amount of rupees 5 lakh per plantation per year, sir. So the market demand of areca nut is very high these days, whereas the production is declining, sir, with every coming year. Although it is considered as a socio-economically important plantation crop, the yield production of the crop, the yield and the production is very, very low, sir. The reason of the low productivity is due to abiotic and biotic factors like heavy and continuous rainfall, poor management of the areca nut orchard, and insect pests like palm weevil, white grub being one of the major problems, sir. So the major problems in areca nut production in this area are as follows, sir. Number 1, poor cultivation practices and low yield. Number 2, lack of desirable planting material and lack of certified nurseries. Number 3, lack of financial assistance from the state department like agriculture and horticulture departments. Number 4, there is no crop insurance. And number 5, there is lack of irrigation facilities. So the reason of low productivity of areca nut crops in this area are as follows, sir. I'll just specify the reasons for low productivity. So number 1 is non-availability of desirable planting material and lack of certified nurseries. Number 2, sir, lack of awareness of high-yielding varieties, including hybrids, and use of traditional low-yielding varieties by the farmers. Number 3, sir, non-availability of suitable resistant varieties and proven plant protection measures, sir. Number 4 is declining of existing orchards due to poor management. Number 5 is insect pests and diseases like the bud necrosis in areca nut, then phytophthora root rot, and so on. Number 6, it's a lack of post-harvest management, processing and marketing facilities. Number 7, sir, it's heavy rainfall that causes heavy soil erosion, and the fertile topsoil is eroded every year, depleting the soil nutrients, leading to nutrient deficiency in the crop and ultimately affecting the yields. This also enhances the attack of so many insect pests and diseases during the rainy seasons. So, number 8, general neglect and non-adoption of scientific cultivation practices are the major constraints for poor returns. Number 9, sir, non-adoption of soil and water conservation measures, nutrient application, and plant protection measures. And number 10, due to the changing climatic conditions of the region that leads to the long dry spell summer season, and during this period, the development of the crop is being affected. Deputy Speaker, sir, areca nut is an important commercial crop in this area, and the farmers of Mawsynram are making efforts to enhance the production and the productivity. To achieve this, promotion and adoption of scientific orchard management practices along with the technological intervention is a step ahead for achieving sustainable livelihood, and that is the need of the hour, sir. So the heavy and continuous rainfall coupled with higher humidity is congenial for the increasing infestation of pests and diseases in the fruits and the plantation crops. So the important disease of areca nut is bud rot. This is the disease that is commonly affecting the areca nut, which is called bud rot. The management practice to be followed is the removal and cleaning of the infected tissues completely and treats the wound with 10% of Bordeaux paste. Spray Bordeaux mixture to the crown of the healthy palms, which are in the vicinity of the affected palms. So despite its rather serious adverse health impact, areca nut is and will continue to be a major agriculture produce in Meghalaya for the near and for the future. So not only is this an efficient income generating activity for many farmers, but it also feeds into an entrenched and inexorable custom of the nut chewing among the Meghalayan's population, sir. And currently there are no data of local consumption, but from other proxy indicators, it appears to be a surplus production state, sir. Given this backdrop, any state-sponsored initiative to improve the income from areca nut production must have a high marginal benefit to serve as an incentive to the farmers to adopt the improved practices. Therefore, on behalf of the areca nut farmers of the Mawsynram block and of the state, I request the government to kindly recognize areca nut as a cash crop product for the benefit of the farmers, like it has been done in the case of broomstick, bay leaf, and the black pepper, sir. So the role of the ICAR is also very essential here in conducting the research on these diseases that is causing the rotting of the areca nut in the border areas of Mawson Ram, sir. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would appreciate if the government could kindly consider coming up with a proposal of launching an areca nut mission to protect the interests of the areca nut farmers, inclusive of market linkages, and help in sustaining the plantation and production of areca nut in the state. Very recently, sir, we have heard from the Honorable Chief Minister in his budget speech that they are coming up with a ginger mission as well. Areca nut being another important, economically feasible plantation for the farmers, I would sincerely appeal to the government to consider coming up with an Areca nut mission as well here. With these few words, I resume my seat. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, thank you for allowing me to take part in this very important discussion pertaining to the sufferings of the farmers in the form of short duration discussion initiated by the honourable member from Mawson Ram. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we have got the population of farmers up to the tune of 80% in the state of Meghalaya. So the farmers are the backbone for the nation. They are the ones who are making all the needs for all of us available. And in our state of Meghalaya, about 70% of the area is hilly area. Of course, rice is our staple food. But then most of the areas are hilly area. During ancient times until now, somewhere it is being practiced. The paddy is cultivated in through jhum cultivation only. But since we are discouraging the practice of shifting or jhum cultivation, whereby all the trees are clear felled, making the land barren, exposed to sun and rain, resulting in massive erosion of the soil. Therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we have been making effort to make our farmers understand that conserving soil and water is very, very important, inevitable. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, it is incumbent upon all of us to influence our farmers, whoever we come across with, to do scientific farming. So horticulture is the best way to do farming in the hilly area. So what I could notice in the preceding 1 or 2 decades, earlier the farmers were cultivating cashew nut, rubber, and other commercial cash crops. But eventually, after seeing the viability, both commercially and scientifically, people started doing away with the cultivation of cashew nut, which depletes the soil and switching over to areca nut cultivation, which gives lots of revenue to the farmers. And in the western region of the state, in all the parts of Garo Hills and western part of West Kutch Hills and Southwest Kutch Hills district, there are huge plantations of areca nut. And if you travel to the remote, far-flung villages, the main livelihood of our farmers is mostly on areca nut. Lots of buildings are being constructed by the farmers in the remote areas. If we inquire about as to what is the source of income of that particular farmer or the resident of that village, it will be areca nut, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. The farmers, they're earning starting from 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs per annum by the farmers. Even those farmers who are not having enough land, they are also planting few trees of areca nut surrounding their residence and making income out of it. So what I mean to say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is that our farmers, they are becoming dependent on the plantation of areca nut. And when it is being endangered, the areca nut plants are being destroyed due to some diseases, unidentified diseases. It is the incumbent upon the government or the department to do some scientific research and put an end to this. Otherwise, once the entire plantation of the areca nut across the state will be spoiled, then what will be the future of these farmers? And Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in the recent past, in the last few years, what I could notice, maybe other friends, other colleagues of this August House also might have noticed, by being influenced by some other middlemen, our farmers, they are not scientifically much aware. And what is happening is the farmers, they have to clean the jungles. They have to do weeding at least once or twice in a year in the areca nut plantation area. So instead of doing the weeding manually, some chemical is being used in the areca nut plantation. Then due to that chemical, no grass can grow, so wheat is not coming up. So they are thinking that, you see, I am very updating myself. I am using the technology. I am using these chemicals, then no laborers should be now engaged to do the weeding. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in turn, what is happening? That means the soil is being destroyed. Not only the grass, not only the shrubs will be destroyed, but gradually it will also destroy the main plantation, the main crop. But due to ignorance, lack of knowledge about the ramification, about the impact, negative impact of using these chemicals our farmers are using, then whose job it is to look after the future of the farmers, to protect the soil and water? Is there anybody to look after this? No, I don't see. It would have been the duty of the so-called agriculture inspectors to inspect and know what is happening in the ground zero? But which is not happening, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So it is high time that the government should pull its shocks and protect the interest of the farmers. And in the Areca nut plantation, we can do lots of other cropping also. In certain areas, like Bukongri, the farmers out there, they have demonstrated that in the Areca nut plantation, they are planting pineapples also. Across the slope of the hill slopes, maintaining the contour of the hill. And in the process, what happened, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir? They are getting revenue out of the Areca nut also. They are getting revenue out of the pineapple also. And in the process, the erosion is also being checked. The soil is also being protected. Otherwise, the so-called detached, the topsoil, which is being detached from the soil mass in particles due to raindrop, would have been washed away by the runoff water. And in the process, this along the slopes, maintaining the contour, whatever this, what you call, pineapple plantation is made, that is controlling the erosion. And at the same time, lots of pulses can also be planted. Ginger can be planted in the Areca nut plantation as mixed cropping. Turmeric also can be planted in the Areca nut plantation as mixed cropping. So these are the things which we should make an approach, create avenues, and create awareness among the farmers, and create viable farming so that our beloved farmers will get benefit out of this. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I don't want to prolong my submission because there are lots of items to be disposed of today itself, including the voting on supplementary demand and budget discussion. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, what I mean to say is, without wasting any time, the Department of Agriculture, the government should do something wherein the sufferings and the agonies of the farmers can be addressed and their interests can be protected at the earliest. With this submission, thanking you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, for allowing me to participate in this discussion. I resume my seat.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I also rise to participate in this short duration discussion tabled by Honorable Member from Ausudram on a very important subject which revolves around the livelihood of our people, the whole population who are engaged in horticulture, how they are confronted by this problem and are finding themselves helpless. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this discussion is specific to the problem being faced by the farmers. The farmers in the state, we all know that most of the farmers who have embarked upon horticultural farming, the main crop is Areca nut, particularly in the western part of the state, the southern slope of the state, along the international border with Bangladesh, including Rivoy, and the northern slopes of West Khas Hills. Now, this very particular crop
areca nuts not only has helped the farmers who are planting, but it has generated diversified livelihood opportunities for people. I was very happy to see some of our women, including self-help groups, embarking upon some small enterprises in value addition of this areca nut produce in their respective villages. In fact, during the first wave of the pandemic, there was a problem faced by the farmers to sell their produce, and it was therefore, out of the disaster, an opportunity was created, and many of the farmers actually resorted to processing the areca nut in their own backyard. So it started, creating that seeing is believing, and by seeing others getting more income, now there is a kind of understanding that, okay, it can also create more avenues. We share the boundary of our constituency. In fact, in that area also, many of these farmers have started starting small enterprise for value addition of areca nut. It's an amazing thing. Now here, this problem being faced by the farmers, we have probably been already acclimatized with the challenges associated with pandemic. Now this is also similar challenge being faced by the plant kingdom, specific to this particular crop. Now we have seen similar disease, attacking citrus and other plants also. One thing is happening where we seem to be completely letting our guard down. Like now during the pandemic, we have so many advisory protocol to follow because we want to protect ourselves. We want to prevent. The prevention is better than cure. So here we are talking about the disease of the plants. How do we prevent? Prevention is obviously going to help us in many ways. It's a universal truth. Prevention is better than cure. Now, unfortunately, what is happening is that the whole issue of any disease being brought from outside the state is not taken into cognizance. In fact, this is a matter of concern which I would like to urge upon the government, through you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. The government should take note of this. Planting materials being brought from outside, immediately going to the farms of the farmers. Planting materials being brought from outside, being sold in the markets, taken directly to the farms because farmers start buying and then they start planting them, without looking at the possibility of these planting materials from being the source of disease which can infect the whole plantation in their own respective farm. Similar thing has happened with your large cardamom. We tried to promote this large cardamom plantation in 2007-8 in that Nokrack ranch. And people started getting lots of money. And there was a time, because I also planted large cardamom, there was a time in 2013-14 when the large cardamom started fetching a price of 1,200 to 1,400 rupees per kg. It fell drastically after 2014-15 until now. It's around 400, 450. I have distributed saplings to farmers in terms of lakhs of planting materials to farmers. People started getting money. I also started getting lots of money from there. Plants are grown. Because what has happened is that people started buying this planting material from the market, which were brought from outside the state. The planting material which were not screened for carrying any disease. And today, if you ask the farmers who were these large cardamom growers, 80% of the crop is gone. In some cases, 100% of the crops are gone. So this is what is happening with our farmers. We try to sensitize the farmers as farmers that please don't allow our farmers to buy these planting materials from outside and bring them, unless it is ordered and unless it is subjected to screening and get a certificate that it's a disease-free planting material. I tried to do one of the consignment from Sikkim, urging them to give a certificate that the plants have been subjected to screening and was free from disease. With that certification we brought. And we didn't take them directly to the farms. We have to quarantine them. You know, like we saw sudden surge of the third wave on Omicron, we were completely taken by, kind of a situation where we were off guard. So we let our guard down. The holidays came, the children returned, the diseases were already picking in those states, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, and by the time, during Christmas time, all the children and people who were working outside during the holiday returned. What happened? You know? So this is something like that. Plants also have disease. Okay. Now what is the cause of this particular disease? It was discussed earlier in the department also, because similar thing happened in the Indo-Bangla border earlier. Then it has happened in our North Garo Hills, that Bajong area, and it's still continuing. In fact, recently I was in Anogri. Anogri people say, because we were discussing about the source of income, farming, how is it going as usual. They said, sir, we are having problem. All our Areca nut plantations are having this problem. You know? So this is required to be understood by the department. We have to have a similar kind of protocol issued to the farmers. And we have to sensitize the farmers. Now, plant protection. Plant protection is not only when the plant is inflicted by disease. Plant protection should be by protecting the plant from getting exposed to any disease planting material which is being brought from outside. And there is a protocol when we import any planting material from outside. The importer has to indicate where is the place created already for plant quarantine. This is a requirement. Now, similarly, in the interstate import, when we are bringing plants from outside the state, from other states within the country, this particular protocol is not being followed. But whether the planting material is being brought from abroad or from other states from within the country, the same rule should apply. As we regulate the whole movement of this consignment of planting materials and subject them to these stringent protocols to a great extent, at least as far as the disease from outside is concerned, we will be able to insulate our whole different varieties of crops in the respective farms of the farmers. Now, another part is that how to again engage with the farmers, to again instill in them a practice of scientific induction, scientific knowledge to be inducted in their farming practices. We have so many programs. Now, the irony is that sometimes we tend to give up, because when we try to teach farmers, they know more than us. So they will say, who are you to teach me? You know, that is usually the tendency. But, you know, we have to try and try and try and try again. And this is an opportunity to tell them, look, if you don't listen, then what happens, you see. So this is how we, sensitize the farmers. I've been telling the farmers, if you don't believe, you go to Bajong area, you go to such and such area, you see this disease coming. It is because you are not taking precaution. And when we engage with them by telling them what exactly is happening, and when they see, they believe. I took some photographs, gave them last year, preceding years also. People started realizing, yes, we need to do something. Because nobody wants to see that their whole farm, which has been an offshoot of long years of hard work, will be gone suddenly because of this disease. So the farmers also need to be sensitized to take cognizance of the nutritional requirement of the crops that they grow in their farm. Like when we don't have, if one is nutritionally malnourished, one is more susceptible to disease. Recovery becomes difficult. I used to tell my doctor friends, my own medical professionals, that please take care of the nutritional aspect of a treatment. I was telling friends that if a person has a very low level of vitamin D, the recovery from any disease will be delayed. People say, oh, calcium deficiency. You take calcium, but if you don't have vitamin D, calcium will not be absorbed. Similarly, there are multiple metabolisms which revolves around this particular vitamin. God has been gracious that it's so important that you get from sunlight even if you don't get from food. Similarly, knowledge is important for farmers. Knowledge is important for us. Suddenly we see the whole pharmacies are flooded with those, medicines which are nothing but supplements. That means what we would have otherwise got in our food. That's why we gotta say me, some. Me means rice, some means medicine. Whatever we eat with me means rice, everything is medicine. So we have to ensure that we are well fed and we take cognizance of the nutritional requirement and all those nutrients, vitamins, micronutrients, antioxidants, all these things. I think during this pandemic, many of these conversations have become much more pronounced and people are talking about them. That's why you see many pharmacies having vitamin C with zinc, because vitamin C alone will not help you. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, what I'm trying to stress upon here is that not just from the perspective of preventing from the plants from getting into contact with a disease planting material, but also to ensure that all our plants are taken care of in such a manner from nutritional perspective. That's why we have the plant nutrition program. Nutritional perspective so that the plants are resilient. I do not know what has happened to the mission organic. There was a big talk, and in fact, the Honorable Prime Minister commended the whole Northeast with a special reference to Sikkim. We embark upon this mission organic program, keeping in mind that by default, all our products of the farmers are organic or otherwise residue-free, because they are not using any chemical fertilizer or whatever, other natural conditions. What has happened to this is that I was trying to find out what has gone wrong. The lack of knowledge about how organic farming is done is the reason of failure of this mission organic. People who are in the government, they do not have the knowledge of how organic farming is done. This is exactly what has happened, and it has gone down the drain. We are talking about conversion into an organic farm. What has happened? They thought you get a certificate once, then it will remain organic all the time. It is not. First year, second year, third year conversion. After third year, they get certification. They have to follow stringent protocols. These are audited by the certifying agency. After certification of the conversion of the first year, second year, third year, which is after a stringent auditing of the protocol, whether the farmers are following them or not, then only they get certification. After certification that they are given at the third year, after completion of third year, they have to continue with the protocol. Certification has to continue to come. But even the certificates were not given. I wanted to know why the certificates were not given to the farmers. That means we have cheated the farmers. If I have been told that you follow this protocol in the first year, second year, third year, religiously I followed. Third year I am supposed to get certificate. Where is that certificate? Why has the department not given the certificate? Why? That means I have been cheated. The farmers have been cheated. That's why they don't have the certificate. How do you dare to say that, okay, we are having an organic program? All those organic programs, whatever is now available, is based on the individual effort of the farmers now. Not from the government, not from the department. If the policymakers don't know how these programs are driven, they should learn, they should read, they should find out how it is done. Little learning is a dangerous thing. So with little knowledge, some people are dictating and telling what is not inconsistent with what the scientific approach is. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, today, as I speak, we should have been in a position to claim, make a tall claim. Look, this is how Meghalaya has achieved. Empower the farmers through this kind of support. They have inducted scientific knowledge, and they are now capable of taking pride of their produce, and they're getting much more remunerative price. Many of the tea gardens were converted into organic farming. They're receiving a remunerative price, highly remunerative price. This is how the farmers benefit. And this is how we take care of also the food that we have access to on a daily basis. We don't know what we are eating. Whether the vegetable that we are eating on a daily basis is subjected to unregulated use of chemical fertilizers or pesticides. We don't know. But the result is that we'll end up succumbing to diseases. We get diseases which otherwise we wouldn't have got if we were cautious and we knew what we were doing. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this plant nutrition is one inherent component in Mission Organic. Inherent component. Because farmers should not be subjected to buy all the inputs for their plant nutrition. It becomes very expensive. Therefore, in-farm, in-house production of all the plant nutrition need to be an inherent component of any program if we want to support the farmers with induction of knowledge, innovation, and other aspects. Pertaining to other programs, I think we had a number of programs which were embarked upon through IBDLP so that they integrate the multiple actions, amplify each other, and have, that multiplier effect and the resultant benefit. These are all gone. That's the reason why we are find answer as to how to help farmers. But these few points, one is, please have a stringent protocol to ensure that the planting materials coming from outside the states are subjected to follow those stringent protocols. It's same like that. Where is the planting material coming from? I saw that government indicating you're promoting certain spices, cardamom, small cardamom, large cardamom. Large cardamom has been already introduced, but it has been affected because of ignorance of the people who are required to further enlighten the people. So learn first, don't jump without knowing anything. So this is my submission, Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, sir. I would like to see that at least much more elaborated manner of engagement comes in the department, within the department, enlighten the people who are in the department, enlighten the people who are supposed to be taken care of by the department, that means all the farmers, and provide all the supports, sensitize all of us, so that as we travel to our respective constituencies, we can also sensitize our people, our friends, our farmers. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you.